Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My talk is going to focus on actually what's risen quite strongly just now during question time is one of the statistics which Brian put up after the survey was that about 35, just have a look at it, 1/3 in the room had not done anything to train or take a training workshop in the last 24 months. And one of the question panel that was just asked was, why had this happened? Maybe it's due to training budgets. So the talk really is going to focus on how education can play a role here in narrowing down, I don't want to say reduce, but narrowing down the gap between the skills that are required in your fields and the skills that are offered or delivered at universities and colleges. I will focus mainly on Czech Republic. Just give you a few points about my background. Originally, I'm also from the finance function, trained as an accountant in the UK, and then went into financial analysis work, and then continued and left that and started teaching, started lecturing, and so on. And I began that around about 15 years ago, and then moved from the UK to Czech Republic to start a college, which is now grown with a few other colleagues. We are fortunate enough that Prague College is an independent college, so I'll explain the advantages of that in a minute. I think students sitting here probably realize some of the advantages that are present. And also we have since then, 5 years ago, partnershiped with Teesside University from the UK and are offering bachelor's and master's degrees now in international finance, international business, IT and computing, and graphic design and interactive media up to master's level. So this is the completely Teesside program being offered here in Czech Republic. So that's a brief background of myself. So I'll just get the. So what I want to first talk about is what is the skills gap. Now, quite often it's talked about this skills gap here. What I've said is here's a student who's just qualified. I can relate to this because just last Saturday, Prague College had its 10th anniversary and also the graduation ceremony for the students that graduated. So we had the vice dean from Teesside University coming and giving a speech as well. So here you can see a confident student who's ready to begin a career with all the supposed skills which are necessary, but those which have been studied. Now, one of the things which the dean mentioned during his speech, quite interesting, was that he said, now that you have qualified, this is a person who is obtained the CBE from the Queen, and he's probably attended 800 graduation ceremonies. And he said that now you graduates have qualified and got your academic qualifications and what you aimed for in life. You're going to embark now upon a world of experience. Now, when he said that, I kind of felt a disconnect. Now, there's a world, there's an academic world, and then there's a world outside there now that you're going to go and embark on and build your career and so on and so forth. And I think this disconnect is present in what is being taught at universities. I manage and teach. We run the first 2 years at Prague College as an H&D program, which is from the UK. And then the bachelor's program and the master's program, I teach right across. And I know personally from my experiences that there's a disconnect in what is being taught at universities and what students then go out and what's required from the skills. I was just talking during break time to a colleague who is from one of the shared service centers, PPG, and she qualified just last year and is now working, and she also confirmed this, that this is a common situation. This is a problem where there's skills that are required down this end. We are going to offer you a job in your credit control function, and you'll be responsible for the age debtors database. Now here is a student who's probably heard about some things relating to an aged debtors database, but really does not know what it involves. It's probably done it in something called financial accounting, where a few ratios were calculated for an assignment or used as a case study. The experience may be if he or she has spent some time in an internship of 2 or 3 weeks in an organization, which we tend to do, but internships don't really give the experience to narrow this gap. So on this side, there are plenty of academic skills, end up with a first-class honors, maybe a master's distinction in international finance. On the other side, starts with a company in Prague or Brno or a shared service center. You don't have to be a university graduate. You can be a high school student who's got particular skills at the level of, say, the UK GCSEs and so on. And then on the other side, what skills are to be employed? Has this student got the particular skills? And from experience and talking to students who get into work, and one just during break time, there is an inequality here between students and what's required on the other side. I think that most of you would probably agree on this. We can see what the survey will produce towards the end of my presentation on this area. Okay, yes. So having established that there is a skills gap, what evidence is there that the skill gaps exist? I gave one example about the person that I just talked to during break time. Here are 2 quotes. One is from Tanya Limoik, Google country director in the Czech Republic. I met her about a month ago. She came over to Prague College to give a guest speaker talk for all the students there. And she said, we generally get the best students from all over Czech Republic, but there's still massive training in skills required. This puts a lot of pressure on training budgets. So these are the ones who pick and choose, and after long interviews, going through several diagnostic testing for students and so on, and then certain number of students are chosen, but still after they start, there's a lot of training required, she said. State universities in the Czech Republic, the students sitting here, I know some of them are present from the universities around here, would agree that due to constraints in the state curriculum that need to be taught and the requirements of assessing such curricula and constant kind of changes taking place in the curriculum like the ones in the UK, there is not room there present for any kind of flexibility to incorporate identified skills from businesses into what is being taught to students. To some extent, when we come to the slide where certain initiatives have been developed together with Mark and myself, you will see how this can be altered. Another person who also I've talked to is the CEO of Lasvit. Lasvit is very interesting because this is a gentleman whose background, I think, runs about 3 or 4 generations in the glass industry in Czech Republic. The Czech Republic is very well known from the point of view of its artistic glass production industries and so on, Bohemia Crystal and so on and so forth. Now this is a gentleman who has tried to develop this industry. He's running a company called Lasvit, which is now expanded in about 15 cities around the world, and has now got his headquarters in Hong Kong. I talked to him last week, and we are developing something with this gentleman. He said students are great at either numerical skills, so they come with great numerical skills from, say, the main economics university in Czech Republic, Varsho, great mathematical skills, can differentiate complicated mathematical equations, do great statistics. or soft skills, who've gone on a few training courses, they can communicate and so on, or somebody might have done, followed an international curriculum, which is equivalent to the A levels in the UK. So they've done, for example, IB, the International Baccalaureate, and then gone into a degree course or a high school diploma at a university. So their background is in English and so on, and they're pretty comfortable in presenting and have got good soft skills, but not both. He said we need both. And he said one of the biggest problems that is being found is that we need someone who can close the deal confidently and effectively. And that's not present. When they get graduates or high school students joining the organization, there is a disconnect. They don't get both of these. And I can continue with many other quotes from people who are part of the British Chamber of Commerce here in Czech Republic, and we're talking to them in companies and so on. I think I'm following Brian here, not, okay. Just check if I, so here is a quote. These are some of the quotes from the OECD survey. I have the website there. Czech Republic skills snapshot. How well does the Czech Republic's education system perform? In the 2013 PISA test for 15-year-olds, for example, the Czech Republic performs below the OECD average in reading and mathematics, and slightly below the OECD average in science. Does the Czech Republic invest enough in education and training? 4.8% of its annual income on education compared to the OECD of 6.2. Now, these could be for several reasons, which one can explore. How many of the Czech citizens are undertaking further education? In 2013, 35% of Czech citizens participated in continuing non-formal education compared to the 34% in 2013. These are OECD figures. Now, these, especially the last point, does have consequences for, say, increase in shared service centers being opened up in countries like Czech Republic and the surrounding countries where, say, more business is developing in these areas. Lack of skills required will be present. Okay. Again, I have here some more statistics concerning the age groups from 25 to 64 with tertiary education. The second bullet point is interesting. Should more be done to prevent the skills shortage? Now, the unemployment rate between 2007 and 2013 has risen to some 22% of Czech employers reported recruitment difficulties in 2013. One could carry on and analyze this data much more, but clearly there is a shortage. The general thing that comes from this is there is a shortage of qualified people. Employers are finding recruitment difficulties. There is also lack of infrastructure and investment into education for at different levels. The first one is people who want to go back into education, okay, to retrain their skills and so on. And second, also what I mentioned earlier on at the level of the ability to make the curriculum flexible. And I think the most important point here is also to try and connect industries with education institutions and try and determine what needs are required so they can be incorporated in flexible curriculum delivery. Now, all these, I don't see those changing, especially in state universities. Yeah. There's quite a few students that I tend to talk to who are qualified from state universities. There's very little room for change available there. Yeah. So something needs to be done for this. The OECD has given some recommendations for the skills strategy. A country can develop relevant skills by encouraging, enabling people to learn throughout life, in other words, fostering international mobility and so on. These are recommendations. Encouraging people and offering more skills in the market would require changes in university curriculum, the approach that is being used for teaching, more initiatives between industry and education and so on. This, unfortunately, is not happening much. Teesside University that we are partnering with in the UK has been awarded 3 years ago the Industry Innovation Award and partnerships with business in the community. So I think we are lucky at Prague College to have this partnership and try to do something here, not only in the Czech Republic, but surrounding countries, so that similar initiatives at least can start. So let's see. Now, here is a short video which I'd like to show, if it's possible. This is what OECD has to say concerning the survey that was run 2013.
The first thing this year's indicators tell you is how the crisis, the economic crisis, has amplified the value of a good education. You can see that reflected in the employment gap between those with a university degree and those who left school early, which has widened very significantly over the last few years. You can see that even better in the earnings gap. On the one hand, when you think about those who have a university degree and those who didn't finish high school, the earnings gap was about 75% in 2008, now it's 90%, so a very significant rise. At the very same time, the indicators also tell you that the long-term trend of increasing investments in education that we have seen over many years has come at least temporarily to a halt. If you think between 2008 and 2011, we've had for the very...
Okay, I think we can move on from this. It will be available in the resources for the conference. The main data that's was going to be presented there is a skills gap, and OECD has identified that there's nothing much being done. There's falling investment in education. Training budgets are cut, as was mentioned earlier on, due to resources being directed in other areas. So this all is adding up in a way to magnify the skills gap. So what needs to be done? Here are some of the points which I have put forward. Greater interaction of education establishment with business organizations. Active establishing the skills required by business organizations. So going out and forming some kind of a group between companies. Let's just take, for example, Czech Republic, where we are identifying certain skills. Take, for example, the group of shared service centers that the association ACCEE is representing. So meeting with them and identifying certain skills that need to be developed and bringing those and integrating them into the curriculum. I think with the courses that we are developing with Mark and ourselves, we did something similar as a trial last summer. And we delivered a 2-week course where Mark had identified certain skills that were essential for shared service centers. And we delivered that to students around Prague College last summer for a 2-week period. And most of those students are now qualified and gone on to work in industries and shared service centers. And we are keeping in touch with them to find out if this course assisted them in any way and helped them. And the feedback is tremendous. It did. It added to their academic qualifications greatly. They are far more confident. they are able to not only apply their skills, but be confident in applying them as well at the same time. So this area here means that continuously updating curricula to ensure the skills gap is being closed once the areas have been identified with organizations. Evaluate education curricula with organizations present to ensure their needs are being delivered effectively. The academic background and foundations are essential, but the skills identified from organizations need to be also incorporated. Yeah. Okay, so here you can see some of the initiatives that I very quickly mentioned earlier on. These are some of the industry networks working with Prague College. I'll just get to some questions. Okay. Let's see what you think about some of these questions. The skill gap can be reduced by education institutions collaborating with business organizations and delivering relevant business and industry skills. What I'd like to see from people present here is what you think. So let's see if we can get a survey going on this. You can press now. %72% agree that there is a skills gap which can be narrowed at least. Yeah, this is do you think the skills gap exists? So you can press now. I haven't given much data to justify this, but from what I've just talked about, or what you know as your experience, would be interesting. So we can see the results on this. That's the, yeah. The answer there was for this one, definitely. Okay, let's just move on to the last question. This one we've had, and the last one is this. Would you participate in a survey to get involved with developing further initiatives between education institutions and your organization? So you can press now. Okay, I think I was expecting this part. Definitely yes. So 42%. So what I'd like to finish off with is, if you are thinking about it, or you would definitely participate and you're thinking about it, what I'd like to know is what is it that you are thinking about. So to finish off, so that we can get you shifted to the other side, here is my contact. And if you are thinking about some things which you're not quite sure of, and you'd like more information, and you'd like to know what initiatives we are thinking of developing together, particularly in the finance and shared service industries, here is my contact email, and you can also get it from Mark, and it is on the details of the conference. I would like to hear from you so that we can move forward and develop this further. I haven't given you details of the steps that are being taken at the moment, but one initiative I did mention that we ran together with Mark at Prague College Summer, which worked wonderfully. So we'd like to develop this further. So thank you for your attention and listening to this, and sorry for flipping the PowerPoints back and forth. Thank you.